Time to erase today's traces. Nightbird FM, provided by Ghostwipe.
Boy, cut it, bullshit. Minuit à Bangkok, l'oiseau de nuit s'éveille.
Nightbird FM. .2 megahertz. Stay thirsty, stay human.
Good evening, or morning, depending on where you are. This is your night keeper, Lorn, broadcasting live from the 5th floor of the Atlanta Hotel in Bangkok. The air is thick tonight, and the neon lights of Sukhumvit are blurred by a light drizzle. Welcome to the frequency of the restless. Before we take off, a quick update on our flight plan. I've been a little casual with the naming, using Nightbird FM for everything. But today, we're putting things in their right place. From now on, the program you're listening to is officially titled Night Flight. Nightbird FM remains our home station, the broad umbrella for our signal. But this hour, this journey, is Night Flight. I've seen our producer, Minch, working like a man possessed lately. Coffee at 3 a.m., screens glowing with complex data. I suspect he's building something much bigger behind the scenes. For now, though, I'm still your pilot, and the stories remain as raw as ever. I also want to welcome our growing manifest of passengers. Our numbers in Korea and Thailand are surging, and we've picked up a surprisingly large crowd from Italy. Allora, I was looking at the stats, and I had to wonder. Come sai, I'm just a hermit in a humid bunker. Why are so many of you tuning in? Is it because listening to my noir tales is more relaxing than a Sunday lunch with 30 relatives screaming over who makes the real carbonara? Que stress, vero? Either way, benvenuti a bordo di Night Flight. Welcome to the Night Flight. We've just come out of the Lunar New Year. How did you spend your break? Did you let your physical body drift through some exotic destination, or did you brave the friction of an actual offline gathering with your blood relatives for a change? For many of you, it's a time of presence, but the definition of that word is changing so fast it's giving me vertigo. Think back just 10 years ago. Some of you remember, right? Back then, the holiday was still a physical battle. People were still arguing in cars, stuck in 10-hour traffic jams on the way to their parents' homes. It was a time of the Great Resistance, the last generation that still felt the obligation to sit in a living room and endure the "when are you getting married?" interrogation. We still used our bodies to show up. Fast forward to today, 2036, the hometown visit has officially been replaced by the Pyongyang Run. Travel data shows that half of the holiday travelers this year skipped their families entirely to go solo camping on the Gama Plateau or in the Gumgang Mountains. They're up there in the frozen northern wilderness, having Eurasia Solnal packages with a bowl of freeze-dried rice cake soup delivered to their tents by autonomous drones. We've moved from the physical struggle of 2026 to the digital escape of 2036. We used to show up, spend hours preparing and sharing meals, and ask those useless, prying personal questions disguised as well wishes. Then we'd crawl back home on those suffocatingly jammed highways, carrying nothing but a bruised heart. It was messy, it was painful, but we were actually there. Now we just send a high-fidelity hologram to our parents' house, set it to auto-nod mode, and catch a flight to a place where no one knows our name. We've traded the warmth and the friction of human contact for the sterile peace of the machine. So tonight we ask, what is a family when the physical body is no longer required? Are we finally free, or are we just lost in the signal? As we fly over the neon-lit horizon, we're going to look into how the family fortress became a cloud subscription. We'll explore Yuval Noah Harari's view on why the state and the market wanted us to be individuals, and how Zygmunt Bauman's liquid love has finally reached its boiling point. This is Night Flight with Lorn. Let's head into the dark. Yuval Noah Harari once wrote that for most of human history, the family wasn't just about love, it was a survival pact. If you lost your family in the agricultural era, you didn't just lose your relatives, you lost your health insurance, your pension, and your protection. You were, quite literally, dead. But then the state and the market made us a deal, a very seductive one. They whispered, "Be an individual. You don't need your parents' permission to marry. You don't need your clan's approval for a job. If you're sick, the state will hospitalize you. If you're old, the market will sell you a pension. Break free. Be yourself." And we took it. We traded the suffocating warmth of the tribe for the cold, bright light of individual freedom. By 2036, that trade is finally complete. The Pyongyang Run we see today isn't just a travel trend, it's the final victory. Think about the ritual of the Lunar New Year. In the old farming days, the questions were about survival. How was the harvest? Do we have enough hands to work the field? By the time we moved to the cities throughout the 20th century, those questions evolved into a KPI check for the modern era. What's your salary? Are you getting married? Why don't you have a child yet? The older generation was still running a farmer's software in an industrial hardware. They wanted to know if the family crop was growing. That's why it hurt. That's why you went home in 2026 and came back with a bruised heart, because they were trying to harvest your life for the sake of the collective. But look at us now. Zygmunt Bauman warned us about this. He called it liquid love. In 2036, our relationships have become so fluid that they've practically turned into vapor. We want the connection, but we can't stand the commitment. We want the like, but we're terrified of the conflict. So we invented the Legacy G, the AI Ancestor. Why deal with a real messy, judgmental grandfather when you can have a high-fidelity hologram of him, one that has been programmed to be polite, an algorithm that says exactly what you want to hear? "You're doing great, sweetie. I'm proud of you." It's the ultimate liquid relationship. No friction. No prying questions, just a clean digital ghost that you can mute the moment it gets boring. We've achieved the dream of the 20th century philosophers. We are finally individuals. We are free to spend our holidays in the frozen silence of the Gaima Plateau, eating drone-delivered soup thousands of miles away from our parents' holograms. But as I sit here in this bunker, watching the rain blur the neon signs of Bangkok, I have to ask, when we removed the friction of family, did we also remove the heat? We've stopped hurting each other, sure, but in this sterile, quiet peace of 2036, are we even touching each other anymore? Or are we just a collection of lonely signals vibrating in the dark? Think about that while you listen to this track. It feels like it was written exactly for this moment. Here is Liquid Love by Jensen and her favorite 9.
Liquid
That was Jensen and her favorite nine with Liquid Love. It's been about 10 years since this track first came out. Back then, in the mid-2020s, we were still desperately trying to hold on to the solid parts of our lives. Real homes, real meetings, real friction. But even then, Jensen seemed to hear the ice cracking. Liquid love. No shape, no weight, no pain, and maybe no trace left behind. We'll be right back after a short word from the people who keep our signal alive. Stay tuned.
Tired of cold? Pre-pack meals. Get real fire Emirati Exit 3. Real fat calf wrap. Spicy, smoky, and handmade. No robots here. Just the best street food in Silla.
Bot dollars or Ethereum, we take it all. Fast, fresh, and undeniably real.
Uncle Somchai's walk on fire. Find the scent at Emirati Exit 3.
Oh my goodness, look at you. It's been a whole month, hasn't it? Your hair is a total mess. Those robot pods at the mall just don't get you. Honey, sit down. Let's talk, I'll fix you up right with my own two hands. We're right here in Azok, and listen to this. Extra 10% discount for Ethereum payment only for this month. Edward Scissorhands! Real talk, real hair. See you at Azok, dear. Your sons and daughters deserve a real hug, not a programmed lens. Your best friends need a mother's heart that knows when they're lonely. Give them the human care they crave. Mom's hands pet care, because their family. Find us in Bangkok today. Your finest Burmese cuisine in Bangkok. Pinnacle House. Modern Bangkok twists on century-old Burmese recipes. Michelin one-star excellence at Pinnacle House. Order Auntie Yuman's special dish this month and get a complimentary sugar-free faluda. Experience the legacy. Pinnacle House. Reservation only.
Welcome back to Night Flight. Before we move to our next segment, I want to introduce a new friend of the station, Pinnacle House. Now, I've been there a few times lately, and honestly, I can't believe this place only has one Michelin star. It feels like a glitch in the system. I've had a lot of mohinga in my life, but what they're doing is on another level. Modern Bangkok twists on century-old Burmese recipes. It's the best mohinga I've ever tasted, period. Honestly, it deserves 3 stars, but maybe the Michelin Guide is being stingy because the prices are actually, well, affordable. So, if there are any Michelin undercover inspectors listening to this frequency tonight, and I know you're out there, lurking in the shadows, do us all a favor. Go back and give them a re-evaluation. It's only fair. Welcome back to Letters from the Past. Tonight, we're looking at a word that started as a small social glitch in South Korea about 20 years ago, Honbab. For those of you unfamiliar with the linguistic fossils of the early 2000s, Honbab literally means eating a meal alone. Back then, it was a brand new term, a neologism created to describe a behavior that was, believe it or not, considered a social anomaly. To those of you listening in 2036, it's hard to imagine, but back in the early 2000s, eating alone in Korea was a genuine taboo. I'm looking at records of people being turned away from restaurants in the countryside because the owners literally refused to sell a single serving. It was a world where a meal was a collective contract. If you didn't have a partner, you didn't have a seat. Fast forward to today, and we have restaurants that don't even have tables for more than one person. But this isn't just a Korean story. It was a global struggle for the right to be alone. Take a look at Italy. Allora, my friends in Naples or Sicily, you know the weight of the tavola. For generations, the table was a social courtroom. If you sat there alone, you weren't just eating, you were a poveretto, a poor soul with no one to love him. To dine solo was to admit social bankruptcy. And it wasn't much better in France. In those classic Parisian bistros, the table d'hôte was designed for a shared, loud existence. A person eating alone was often tucked away in a dark corner, labeled as the lonely bachelor, a character of pity. Even in Japan, the pioneers of the Ohitorisama, the art of being alone movement, had to fight the quiet judgment of a society that valued the wa, the harmony of the group, above all else. Whether it was a refusal to serve 1인분, one serving, in a Korean village, or the heavy, prying silence of an Italian family lunch, the world used to use food as a leash. It was their way of saying, you belong to us. You are not allowed to be a whole person by yourself. But look at us now. What started as Honbab, a lonely act of defiance in Seoul, became a global independence movement. We didn't lose our families or our friends. We just stopped using the dinner table as a place to perform our lives for them. We realized that the most sophisticated conversation you can have is the one you have with yourself over a perfectly cooked meal, with no one there to ask you, so, what are you doing with your life? So, if you're at a single-seater bar in Bangkok tonight, or sitting by a window in a quiet cafe in Paris, don't look at the empty chair across from you. There is no empty chair. There is only a space that you have reclaimed from the noise of the world. You aren't a lonely diner. You are the sovereign ruler of your own time. This is Night Flight. If the dinner table is no longer a fortress, but a runway for your independence, then every pilot needs a proper anthem. The track I've picked for you tonight is a little gem from Korea, the origin of the word Honbab. It's by a charming K-pop duo called Butter and Salt. I've always loved that name. It sounds like the only two things you really need for a perfect solo meal, doesn't it? Their song, Honbab, captures that specific mid-2020s vibe perfectly. It was a time when Honbab was shifting from something people felt sorry about into something people were proud of. Here is Butter and Salt with Honbab.
떠들썩한 점심시간 알람 소리 친구들은 묻지 너 오늘 누구랑 먹니 난 그냥 웃으며 이어폰을 꽂아 I've got a reservation just for me right here
문을 열면 보이는 다인용 식탁 그 사이로 찾아낸 나의 작은 눈신청 메뉴판에 글자들만 오롯이 보여 타인의 시선 따위는 김서린 창밖으로 혼밥 나의 완벽한 비행이 시작돼 누구의 눈치도 보지 않는 이 시간
Perfectly seasoned 오직 내 입맛에 혼자라서 더 선명한 이 맛의 색깔
No more questions just my soul and my plate 오직 나만을 위한 단독 테이블
가끔은 외롭냐고 누가 묻겠지
아니 난 지금 1인분의 주권을 행사 중
자유라는 이름의 향기를 음미하며
나만의 궤도를 돌고 있어 혼밥 나의 완벽한 비행이 시작돼 누구의 눈치도 보지 않는 이 시간 question, just my soul and my plate. 오직 나만을 위한 단독 table.
Table for one. It's a perfect flight.
That was Butter and Salt with Honbab. I suspect most of you are like me. If nothing special is going on, I'm eating alone. For me, sharing a meal with someone is a special event, and frankly, I hope those events don't happen too often. Just because you're chewing the same food doesn't mean you're sharing a heart. Personally, I'm convinced that this, us vibrating together on the same frequency, is a much tighter connection than sitting across a dinner table from someone. But then again, maybe I'm wrong. Before we land tonight's flight, let's take a look at the Bulletin. This is where we check the pulse of the city through the things we choose to leave behind. Today, a post caught my eye from a couple of Farangs here in Bangkok who describe themselves as AI nomads. After years of living in the digital fast lane, they've decided to pull the plug. They say they're exhausted by the convenience and are heading off grid. They're selling their entire high-tech life. If you're looking to upgrade, here's what's on the board. First, a Tesla Cybertruck. It's still got 9 months left on its FSD subscription. That's 9 months of letting the machine handle the Sukhumvit traffic while you sleep. Next, a humanoid robot, Optimus Model Z1. It's in great shape, it's still under its original warranty for more than a year, and the battery cycle is at a healthy 85%. It's basically a roommate that actually cleans up after itself and never complains about my music. And finally, for the pet lovers who hate the mess, they've got a Boston Dynamics D2, the dog-shaped cleaning bot. It'll follow you around and keep your floors spotless without ever needing a walk. They say they're tired of the automated life. I have to say, I admire the courage. It's not easy to walk away from a life where every need is predicted by an algorithm before you even feel it. Lately, this AI detox has become quite the trend, hasn't it? Everyone wants to go back to the basics, but I've heard the yo-yo effect is brutal. You spend a week in a cabin with no Wi-Fi, and the next thing you know, you're back in the city ordering 3 new bots and an upgraded Neuralink just to feel normal again. Still, to our anonymous AI nomad couple, I truly hope you find what you're looking for out there in the analog silence. May your transition be smooth, and may your hearts stay human even without the sensors. Good luck with the sail. It's time to bring this bird back to the ground. Tonight, we've flown through the ruins of the family fortress and landed in the quiet, sterile peace of the 2036 Pyongyang Run. We've talked about how we traded the friction of blood for the clean signals of the machine, and why a solo seat at a table can be its own kind of throne. Whether you're out there in the frozen north or tucked away in a quiet corner of Rome, I hope tonight's flight gave you a little bit of clarity in the noise. The last track for tonight is Neon Sidewalk Home by Ian Clinton. He's one of those musicians whose pure talent is often overshadowed by his good looks, but tonight his guitar is all that matters. It's the perfect sound for a walk home through the neon rain. Thank you for flying with Night Flight. This is Lorn, your night keeper, signing off from the 5th floor of the Atlanta Hotel. Stay thirsty for the truth, and stay human in the signal. Good night.